All right, we are here. It is Tim Kirby Russia, a live stream. Today is October 12th, 2022. I should probably start saying that at the beginning of live streams helps because they always go up usually the next day or in 2 days or something else. So thank you guys for already being here. So many of you are already here. Man, I really appreciate this. This project here is going a lot better than I thought. I thought I'd have like 200 people who are just people I know who'd be like in this Telegram group would be humoring me by being subscribed. But apparently things are going much better. And I'd have to say that things are going much better, especially due to the Durants. I want to thank Alex and Alexander again for having me on their program. A lot of you guys hopped over. I think you liked mostly what I had to say, and you kind of came over here. So I've had a lot of very pleasant messages from people, questions, and so on, and a bunch more subscribers than there were before. So thank you guys very much for coming over. And again, thank you to Alex and Alexander. I am extremely grateful. I bow to you, sirs, and that's awesome. However, I would like to say that one thing I said during that program kind of, I think, struck almost everyone the wrong way. I got into my statement, my spiel, my shtick, that my more long-term subscribers have heard me say before about how Russia needs a movie and that how there's a lot of good things in Russia, but on the sort of like narrative weaving and emotional level, Russia has had a lot of problems. And I kind of wanted to take this time because I got a lot of reactions to that. I sort of read the comments. Usually I don't read the comments, and most people are polite. But it was generally the thing of like, oh, what is he talking about? Russia doesn't need this schlock. Russia doesn't need to make a movie like Star Wars or like it's too expensive. Russia doesn't have the money, so on and so forth. So I kind of wanted to elaborate on this because I think it's a very important point. But it's not the kind of point that you want to elaborate for like 20, 25 minutes about on someone else's platform when they're not really that interested in this sort of thing, okay? So, yeah, anyways, am I sticking to my plan here? I actually wrote down what I wanted to say today. I forgot one thing. So before we get into this, so today we actually have a topic. Usually when our topic is more open, I say, guys, whenever you want, raise your hands and ask a question. Not yet. If you want to actually talk to me, you're going to have to wait for a while till the end. If you want to ask a question, as are the rules, if you basically leave a comment under anything on Tim Kirby Russia Hardcore, it'll all become visible to me in what's called the chat. So especially like if you take the post that says Telegram live stream in 30 minutes, if you write something there, I'll see it eventually. Okay, so you can write stuff, and I'll get to it. When the time comes, as it were. Okay. And I just want to say, guys, that I'm going to reveal this today, but I'll also write a quick post about this after we're done for everyone. But today I actually kind of took a psychological day off. I'm kind of involved in a minor lawsuit. Don't worry, I'm the one doing the suing. So, it's, guys, I don't like this stuff. I don't like legalese. I don't like dealing with pedantic people. I'm kind of like maybe the Incredible Hulk, Tim Smash. That's more my attitude towards getting revenge rather than doing something in sort of a legal sense. Although I don't know if it would be revenge, more like I want to get justice because I've been a bit wronged and a lot of other people have been wronged on a particular issue. And so, so minor lawsuit going on. Like I said, I'm the one who's doing the suing, so we'll see. But it's just that the war thing has been stressful. Very, very stressful period. So I kind of took a day to really not have the phone open, and I feel much better. And in the next few days, I'm going to go visit the governor of the Novgorod region about the American Village, see if they're willing to do this thing in a much more expedited way so we can actually start to get people here who are excited about moving to Russia to move to Russia in a legal, yet quick, yet reasonable way, getting around all of the loopholes, about how basically, we want all these highly qualified specialists to come to Russia. Well, it takes time to become a really highly qualified specialist. And with time comes a wife and kids. But if you're married, you can't move to Russia because then you can't get in the immigration quota. We got to break this cycle somehow. So hopefully that meeting with the mayor will help. I mentioned I have a sort of potentially 2 major comedy projects coming up in Russia. Russian language only, and those are going to be some big meetings coming up. So I got a lot of big stuff. So, guys, I don't think you're going to hear a lot from me over the next 7 days. So today I'm officially saying 7-day break, maybe 5-day, depending. At least 5 days, maybe 7-day break starting today. But I'm going to upload this video, and I will edit tomorrow and probably upload another video, or maybe even 2 that I already filmed before they get stale. So anyways, that's my big news from Tim's world. Very, very frustrating times in the Tim Kirby universe, but what can we do? So anyways, let's talk about this thing that I said about Russia needs a movie. Now, there's one thing I want to say about this, that if I were maybe the ultimate, like, real great oratory legend, I'd kind of like to build to this sort of talking point that I have in my mind, but it's kind of the most important talking point about why Russia doesn't have a movie. So I'm going to do things a little bit backwards from the spirit of the sort of Greek thinkers and rhetoricians. Is that someone who does a lot of rhetoric, a lot of word spewing? And I'm going to tell you this story very, very shortly, but very briefly, about why Russia needs a movie. Okay? Here we go. There's a thing that's called the war in Ukraine. And this war is happening. And if you guys have all seen, whether it's on my channel, whether it's the Duran, whether it's our good buddy Joaquin's channel, whether it's Bad Wolf, whether it's Earl Grey, who has agreed to an interview with me. I'm sorry, Earl Grey. I'm really sorry. He agreed, and I haven't been able to get around to it. Life's too crazy. Please forgive me. So we've got him, Vanessa Beeley, journalist, a lot of channels. And you guys have all seen from various different sources all of the horrors and the return of the nightmares of the late 30s and early 1940s that were in Germany. It's back, and it's against the Russians. It is the Holocaust 2.0. The question is, why? Because all these people, if we were to sort of go back in time to 1991 before the Soviet Union collapses, well, the Soviet Secret Services did a good job of getting rid of all the Banderites, or at least keeping them under the cover, the mainstream. Okay, if we were to go back to 1991 and we were to go around Ukraine and ask people who do they see themselves as, or were there any sort of linguistic issues about the Russian language, to be honest, they probably answered to most people that they were Russian, that the whole thing about Ukraine being a separate country or republic isn't really such a big issue. And over the course of 30 years, and according to Victoria Nuland, $23 billion worth of propaganda investment, well, all of a sudden we can see that we've basically taken people who saw themselves, for the most part, I mean, obviously, someone from the Banderite universe and the, if you remember our one interview with George Eliasson, he really got into detail about how much of the sort of Ukrainian diaspora went over to America and really boiled in their hatred for everything. They came back to Ukraine in the 90s and were very disappointed. So there was a bit of that factor. But overall, besides some people who are sort of in the shadows teaching their children that they're the proud Ukrainians and that Russians are actually the Untermenschen that need to die, besides a few of them, the overwhelming majority of people in Ukraine saw themselves as Russian up until this whole 1991. And so the question sort of is, I already have blamed, I'm a bad lawyer here. I've already put the blame on sort of like 30 years of propaganda. But what would it take to convince people to have such a completely different view of themselves? I mean, obviously the people in the Donbass see themselves as Russian, but I'll tell you one thing, guys. There are a lot of people in Moscow liberals, Kiev liberals. You saw when they blew up the Crimean bridge, the joyous celebrations of people that a bridge was destroyed by terrorism. We all remember when they killed Dasha Dugina and how they reacted to the murder of a 30-year-old helpless woman, and so on and so forth, and to the torture of people and so on. So basically, it took 30 years to foster this hate where there really wasn't much. There wasn't much kindling for this fire in 1991. And going from, I guess, a few match sparks to a blazing house, how did we get here? This is, again, in connection why Russia needs to make a movie. Well, apparently, Russia did a really, really bad job of being able to convince people in Ukraine that they're Russians. I mean, I don't know. If we constantly made enough Hollywood movies or big budget something or propaganda and gave ourselves 30 years, which is like a generation and a half of human beings, to tell the South that the South shall rise again, that the Southerner is not a real American. He is his own peculiar institution. Would we be able to maybe see Southern people rise again? I don't know. But the thing is I know this isn't like in a court of law. You can't just say, well, this is the reason because I can't think of another reason that's better. I know that's not logical, but I'm gonna lay that out there. So how was this the people who are within Ukraine able to transform from this sort of Soviet person, very sort of seeing themselves as Russian, mainstream, wishy-washy Soviet person, to Nazis within a very short period of time? I gave 30 years, but to be honest, when you think about it, that whole Nazi stuff was already really, really burning up, flaming hot by 2014. So that's more like 20-ish, 5-ish, 24-ish years. And that's why I said on the Duran about the movie. Because on this sort of military level, Russia does very good. It seems like Russia's made some really brilliant wheeling and dealing on the international stage. But if you think about it, there's basically winning hearts and minds and about the feels and all that, Russia fails. And a lot of people, their response to me was like, well, it's really hard to make a Hollywood movie, and it's really expensive. And there's the question of distribution. How would they show it? It would be blocked everywhere. No, this, that, and the other. Well, it's kind of one of these things where, you know what was hard? Making a nuclear missile in 1945 after the war ends, and the Soviets saw that Hiroshima and Nagasaki got bombed, and that they're next. And guess what? They did it. That was hard. That was expensive. That was a brutal process. You know, it was also really, really hard and really expensive, the space race. But they put all their effort into it, and they got Gagarin up there and more. And they still, ironically, it's hard to believe, but apparently the only photos from the surface of Venus to this day are from the Soviet Union, okay? So space race was really, 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 really hard, but they did it. Now, the race to, I don't want to call it the cinema race or movie race or entertainment race. Maybe it is an entertainment race. I was going to say it's sort of like a new global narrative race, but it could be an entertainment race. Well, anyways, the race to create a new global narrative or competing global narratives, and the race to create some entertainment that fills our minds with something that drives us in a good direction. Well, Russia isn't even trying. And I think that is as important, maybe slightly less important than the arms race, because if you don't have nuclear weapons, you're just going to be dead anyways. But equal to, or maybe actually vastly more important than the space race. I mean, yeah, satellites are nice, but meh. So that's why I say this, because I've been able to see living here, and especially as someone who lived in Kazakhstan, all the same ideological and propaganda seeds that were set into Ukraine that turned them into this Nazi nightmare that hates and wants to take joyous glee from murdering Russians. That was all there in Kazakhstan when I was there in 2004 to 2006. All the talking points, the logic, that's all being fostered there. The difference between the Kazakhs and the Ukrainians is they don't really have that history of the whole Bandera thing. But within any society, there's always a couple percent of people who are either sociopathic or they just want to look for an excuse to murder people. So there's always enough in any society. Russia too, America, the African cultures, it doesn't matter. There's always enough of them. Whereas in Ukraine, there were possibly maybe more. There was more potential because it was that sort of kernel of history, and that's probably why it's happening there. But the thing is, you could also look at it this way, is Russia's had control over the Kazakhstani steppes for century upon century upon century. They lose, in a direct political sense, control over it, but not even in a full media sense, because even when I was there was still a lot of Russian programming and stuff like that, a lot of interaction between Russia and Kazakhstan. And that's all it takes to sort of delete hundreds of years of history and interaction. So, guys, I want you to understand something. If the Russians could have made movies that really were like what Hollywood at least used to do, where remember the 80s when you had, Stallone and Schwarzenegger and all those guys, they projected something cool onto especially the young boys of the whole world. As one of my colleagues at RT once told me, who works in the Arab department, he said that 95% of young people in every culture love their culture. I believe he was Egyptian, so he said 95% of young Egyptians love Egypt, and they are proud of being Egyptian, so on and so forth. This blanket statement. So 95% of Chinese young people are proud of being Chinese and their 5,000-year heritage. But thanks to Hollywood, there's always 5% who love America more. Their hearts are there. And, okay, now, good, bad, offended by that, whether you are or not. So I'm talking like Yoda. Whether you're offended by that or not, that's your business. But the fact remains, America can do it, did it. Unfortunately, America's really dropping the ball because these new woke movies are not going at all over well outside of the West. And they're not even doing very good within the West. But in general, the United States has really been able to, through Hollywood, grab that percent and bring that sort of critical mass of the young people of any culture into their fold at any moment. And has Russia done that? No. Why? So why is that not important? I've had a few people actually tell me that the reason that they moved to Russia was because of Russian literature. This is sort of tied in. I believe we were talking on the Duran. I think Alex was the one who mentioned that Russian literature is important, and it is. It's something important, and people really like it. There's a sort of small amount of people there. But how many people have read War and Peace versus how many people have seen Star Wars? How many people grow up wanting to be like Goku from Dragon Ball Z versus reading Quiet on the Dawn, or however that is in English, Tiki Dawn? How many people are familiar with sort of the wisdom of Spider-Man, that with great power comes great responsibility, versus any quotes from Pushkin? I rest my case. There is something to Russian literature, but there's something that's for your graduate degree educated 25 plus family person kind of mindset, So I'm hoping I'm kind of building a case here. However, one of the reasons, so that's kind of it. My sort of rough thesis here is, if Russia, despite the fact that it's hard, it's expensive, the West is just trying to deplatform Russia to the absolute best of its ability and so on and so forth. But if Russia could start to sort of export its culture in an exciting way, then they would have been able to sort of provide a counterbalance to the young people who grew up in the 1990s Ukraine, 1990s, early 2000s Ukraine, who became the neo-Nazis that they are today. Because in the battle of hearts and minds, Russia pretty much completely lost. Now, there's a couple moments of interesting hope from the Russian media that I just saw today, and one of the reasons we're talking here. Joe raised his hand, and since I told you guys when I'm done, you guys can jump in. I kind of shot my artillery round here. So anyways, Joe, you are welcome to speak to me here on today's somewhat sad, somewhat theoretical episode of this live stream on Kirby Russia. Joe, are you there? Auction house.
Hello.
Yeah, okay. Hello.
Okay, I just wanted to chime in on this a little bit,
Sure.
especially about the movie and Hollywood. I find that Hollywood is where the cancer got in.
Uh-huh.
And that's, sure, it's helped in propaganda. And now that I look at it, almost everything I watch is propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I cannot watch TV without an overzealous kissing scene between a gay couple on any TV show in Canada right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's
absolutely.
ridiculous. But the whole point is that that's where the cancer came in, and that's the cancer in Russia, the 5%, is through there too. So why would we want them to embrace something that brings cancer in? It's like the colonialists that brought the smallpox to Canada.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a fair question. I think I might be then explaining myself very badly. So let's just put it this way. Okay. So what you're saying is that why should we do this thing with Hollywood when Hollywood is destroying us? Well, it's kind of like the thing about a gun. You can use a gun to defend the motherland, defend yourself, or you can use it to murder someone for their wallet. So, it's not so much the gun, but how it's used. Okay. So maybe a knife would be a better example because it's hard to eat dinner without a knife. Well, unless you're having Chinese food, but it was prepared with a knife. But anyways, so it's more Hollywood as in if Russia had its own Hollywood, this doesn't have to be a destructive Hollywood. This doesn't have to be a sort of Hollywood that projects a message that destroys society. But it could be a system that projects a counter message, a message that makes people feel better, that builds people up. You see what I mean? I like to show two examples of something that I saw advertised on TV today. They're weak examples, but I think they really show that the direction of maybe the Russian media is changing. So hear me out. Hear me out, Joe. Give me a little time here to explain, okay? There is an extremely, and I see that JJ has their hand up. You're going to have to wait a little bit here, JJ. We'll get to you. There's a really trashy reality show called Dom 2. So it's House 2. And there's a lot of, I'll put it this way. It kind of involves a lot of sexual stuff. So they had to kind of put it on at night. But of course, it's not pornography because you can't show that. But you can describe it. So it's very foul. And it really, overall, what is it? It's basically like, it's a whole lot of drama. He said, and she said stuff for women across the Russian-speaking world to enjoy. All right? So it's that kind of stuff, this drama. She slept with him. He slept with her, that sort of thing. Okay? And, of course, on our subconscious mind, if people grow up with that, especially teenage girls, they're liking their drama. Trust me, my daughter's not even a teenager yet. And oh, boy, that drama between those girls at school. You ladies love your drama. And they watch this, and it sort of normalizes for them that this sort of behavior and this sort of model that everyone's just going to be banging everyone else without any sort of consequences is normal. Now, all of a sudden, we have kind of an interesting shift. I just saw an advertisement today that now the trashiest thing on Russian television now claims that they're going to do a family-oriented set of programming, that now the mission of House 2 season 10 or 14 or whatever it is for people to have babies. And apparently, like, the first woman to have babies is going to get paid, but they all will. And then there's a super prize of like 10 million rubles for someone who I guess is the winner who also has a baby. And I guess that everyone will get, of course, have the children within wedlock. So again, this is again on this. The Overton window is shifted on this one. The Overton window went from we're just banging, we are super liberal, and now it's like they feel the edge of that Overton window in Russia moving. They can feel that sharp PVC edge of that window coming across their throat, ready to slit it. So now they're kind of like, okay, we're going to keep it kind of trashy, but now it's about people going to get married, and there's going to be babies and families, and hopefully that'll keep us inside the Overton window as it keeps moving more and more and more. That is a kind of a weak example. But we could also, to be honest, could we take a show like this, and could we move it farther along the Overton window where it would have enough drama and that delightful he said, she said factor that I cannot pronounce today, that ladies seem to enjoy so much, but push it even farther to give it sort of maybe a more better message about human relations? I think that's possible. Another thing was another trashy reality show is this one that's called Dudettes. With this, how I'd translate it, Patsanki. And this time, the advertising, again, these liberals, they feel that, they feel that Overton window. It is sharp. It is biting into their skin as it's moving, as Russian society is changing. And so this time, it's sort of a show where it's like first off, I've heard it's actually completely 100% fake and it's filled with actresses. That doesn't matter. All that matters is that people en masse consume this, and we sort of, all of us, me included, we all imitate what we see. That's part of human nature. And so all these models of behavior are being fed to us all the time. So it doesn't matter whether they're actors feeding us these models of behavior or non-actors or non-actors being sort of shoved and funneled into behaving in a certain way. It doesn't matter. But on this show, it was sort of like a reform school for girls, these girls who are sort of like, I don't know, rebels or from broken homes or something to fix themselves. But anyways, I saw the commercial, and the commercial had some sort of very prim and proper psychologist talking to the girls saying, you girls reject your femininity. You're all fighting against being the women that you are. You need to accept that you're women, that you're girls, that you're feminine and soft and beautiful and all this other stuff, right? Interesting. Probably this is all just a mask to keep something trashy on TV and seem technically acceptable. Interesting. Now, imagine, my friends, if again, with 25 or whatever, 30 years of propaganda, we can create waves of Nazis who are willing to die for their leadership, who is not part of ethnicity, to profit from things in the West. I do believe that if we, change television, what you said about this whole, everyone the same gender kissing, let's all, transition to different genders. We could get rid of that. I mean, what if this puts, this dudettes, I should say, so it actually sounds like some of these dudettes show. Well, what if all over the Russian media, we have the message that, okay, you're a woman and you're in trouble, but you're still a woman. Accept your femininity. The more that you embrace your femininity, the more that you embrace sort of a natural role that you've been given. Well, of course, that role would have to be defined. You're going to feel better about life. Or what if in Russia we do nothing? We don't make any media. We do absolutely nothing. We keep importing media that's going to tell young girls, girls, if you kind of like stuff that's a little bit guyish, you're going to have to cut your tits off. Got to get them tits slashed off. We're going to get you on hormone therapy so you have a beard like your buddy Tim here. I would prefer to make media. So here, that's the one thing where, Joe, I have to disagree with you. You can, and this is the mistake that all people on the right and conservatives do. Finger wag, say that's bad. Don't provide a counter narrative or some sort of different view of things. All of us are going to be indoctrinated into something through the media that we see, through our life experiences, so on and so forth. All of us. The question is, what are we going to be indoctrinated into? Okay. So anyways, I see Sam wants to talk, but JJ had their hand up and then stopped. JJ, do you want to put your hand back up? JJ? Yes, you do. Okay. Allow to speak. Hello. Hello, JJ. You are number 2 for tonight. We have a little bit of a serious topic today. And sorry, guys, because of this whole lawsuit thing and a whole bunch of arguing and fighting, as you can see, I'm not in my usual jovial mood. So please forgive me. JJ. Hello. JJ?
Nope. Hey, Tim, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I just need to make you. Oh, well, that was the wrong person. Hold on. Nope, that's. Oh, my God, where are you? Here, louder. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. Hey, first off, I saw you on the Duran. Great stuff. Just wanted to say that. 2, kind of bouncing off what we're discussing here. So I agree with your perspective there. So it's a tool, just like money or anything like that, right? The message that's being put forward, it could be a good one, it could be a bad one. Everyone's going to be indoctrinated. That being said, I know you have roughly 2 decades worth of experience in the media. Have you ever thought about doing a government gig in Russia and kind of handling messaging and PR? Is that in the cards?
Trust me. Let me just put it this way, because there are certain things that I have to kind of keep to myself. I'll let you continue on. I kind of felt like you had more questions, but let me address this. There is a very well worked out presentation and business plan and budget that's sitting on the desks of important people that keep telling me to wait till the war's over. That's my answer.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. Because it looks like great timing. I know you mentioned, I think it was on the Duran, or maybe it was the last stream. Mm-hmm. You said that a lot of the libs that are in private sector, media are are like all scared shitless. So that's really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing kind of how that develops for you. I know you also said the comedy thing could materialize, so very cool stuff, and big fan of your work, man. So thanks.
Oh, thank you very much, very appreciated, man. And definitely thank you for saying that today, because today was a real rough day in the life of Tim. I'll put it that way, real rough one. So thank you very, very much for that. But yeah, anyways, the comedy projects, I'm hoping will sort of maybe put me back in the limelight, because remember, comedy may sound silly, but where'd Zelensky come from? So I can be like the good angel. Zelensky can be the bad angel, and I can be the good angel that tells people that we should all try to get along and be part of greater civilizations rather than murdering people we don't like. Anyways, so Sam, hello, Sam. I think you wrote me recently, but I kind of screwed it up and didn't really answer. So anyway, Sam, may have a few questions here. Sure.
Hey, yeah. I tried to email you at your VK account, but my Proton mail, it bounced back twice. So I just was like, whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to maybe poke in and see maybe it can inspire some other people. I'm single. I'm a rancher, and I run beef and cattle in Tennessee. And the culture here, it was nice when I got here, but when COVID happened, the wacko liberals are moving in. Anyway, I'm a builder. I lay concrete. I frame.
Wait. Can I stop you right there? Because I'm kind of curious. So you're talking Tennessee ranching, and then you say, but the liberals moved in. Do you mean like government policies moved in? Or do you mean like physically people are flooding to Tennessee?
Yes. You got multiple nose rings, colored hair, weird tattoos crawling up the neck onto the face. It's just like, the coastal areas. It's turning into the coastal areas slowly. But yeah, I just listened to Putin's speech, and it just tickled my heart. I mean, the guy, I guess he's just kind of milquetoast according to some people, but I never seen leadership like this in my whole life. And that's what I think Christians need. Yeah, we can't all take up arms and fight. Of course, Jesus told us to love our enemy. We're not trying to instigate, but it's getting crazy here. And so as a single guy, I thought it was a great idea. You said to just come visit, and I thought I could come visit for maybe the summer months and help build a house or two for people that are part of the project. And if I like it, I can, slowly start making my way over. I'm happy to just come and help.
Well, then here, let me let you go right there. Let me mute, because I'm always afraid that there's going to be that reverb thing. So, but anyways, Sam. So about that, if you wanted to come in the future and kind of help people do something, then you're going to have to talk to Father Joseph Gleason, who's doing the Northern American Village by Rostov Veliki. So not Rostov on Don or Nadano, the one that's in the south that's very warm, the one that's up north in the Yaroslavskaya region. So his sort of thing is already going there slowly but surely. The amount of Americans in that region is growing, but it's a trickle. But it's a trickle because some of the projects on my end haven't worked out, so it's more my fault than his. But anyways, so there are people there who might actually really take you up on that. So you want to talk to him, because if you want to do volunteer work in the near future, he can probably set you up with something. About the southern village, again, we're sort of stuck in a little bit of a legal limbo here. Some people took that to mean that the project's dead. It's not dead. It's just a very slow process of acquiring the land, rezoning it, subdividing it. So unfortunately, that's really kind of going quite slow, especially due to the war. Everyone's kind of busy with other things. However, pretty soon I I choose to, and I want to go meet up with the governor of the Novgorodskaya region. Again, another city with double names. So not Nizhny Novgorod. That's a very big city. Novgorod, Veliki Novgorod, also Veliki. That they wanted to talk to me about building an American village there. And hopefully, because it's a very underpopulated region, I'm hoping that maybe they'll be more like, instead of saying, yeah, you can do this, it's cool, we like your project, we're going to get out, you can do this within the framework of the law, you can do this, sort of a little bit laissez-faire with a little bit of help, and hopefully they'll get really excited and be like, we are doing this. And we're going to put money down, and we're going to create this immigration pipeline. So I'm really hoping that there'll be a little bit more excited, okay? But that's, again, something, who knows when that'll actually happen. So if you want to visit Russia now and you want to do some kind of volunteer work to help people, Rostov Veliki, talk to Father Joseph Gleason, okay? So, Sam, I'm going to have you back. Ann, we'll get to you soon. Ann, Sam, you wanted to say something else? Did that make sense?
Yes, it does. Also, I just wanted to tell people, if you go into your phone settings and do voice isolation, it stops the feedback. I have an iPhone, and I just did that. And I think my voice sounds better than before.
Interesting.
Anyway, thanks for what you do, Tim. I really enjoy your show.
My pleasure. Thanks for offering to volunteer. I hope I can. Oh man, I hope I can get some people here, because some people have even some people have been offering to volunteer, and it's like, oh god, there's nothing quite yet. Soon. Ann Kirkpatrick, hello. How are you, Ann? Hello, nice to hear from you. Ann.
Okay, can you hear me?
I'm gonna boost your volume. Yes, I can.
Okay, yeah. Tim. First of all, thank you so much for what you're doing. I'm a new listener. And on this topic, if you haven't already, you might educate people about the history of Russia and Europe, Western Europe, really being integrated. People spoke French in Russia. Catherine the Great, after all, was German. Among the aristocracy, there was tremendous mixture. What brought that down was communism, of course, and killing Christianity. Russia was actually a very Christian country, and there's a great resurgence of Christianity now, which may be part of the game against it. But I would like you to actually research how much Christianity is rising. I'd like to know myself. This was fundamental to what you call the Russian soul. And the culture that you're talking about, you're right. This Russian soul was never really explained well. People don't know about it. Southerners in the United States really have very, very little exposure or understanding of European culture, history, much less Russian. So there's been a gap, but they were so interrelated. Russia and Western Europe were so deeply interrelated in Western culture. And please look at the Russian soul. It's in the music. It's in the church services. It's there, and it's a pity we don't know more about it.
Oh, okay. So what you'd want me to do is for myself, or you'd like me to try to maybe film material about that, or sort of bring it to public attention? I didn't quite understand.
Yes, bring it to public attention. Do a little research, because I'm certainly not there, and I don't know to what extent Christianity is coming back. The grandparents kept it alive, to my understanding. Communism killed it. They are saying, I believe the leadership said that what they survived, in other words, communism, they see rising in the West. And so I would love to have you research the role of Christianity historically in Russia, its resurgence now, and talk about it. I don't think people know.
Oh, okay. So role of Christianity in Russia. That's well, the thing is, I kind of already have an answer to that, but that's a big answer. That's a whole nother episode right there. So maybe not so much research, but I think I might need to let me turn you off there. I can kind of slightly hear myself. So anyways, and that's an interesting idea. I will. I guess maybe that's a good topic for a future live stream. If I forget, remind me. But I think that could be very important. But that's a really, really big topic, and I need to sort of organize my thoughts. One thing I can't tell you right now is the whole thing about the mysterious Russian soul. That's only for foreigners. Internally, like within the Russian language, within Russian people themselves, there is no mysterious Russian soul. That's a thing from the outside. Oh, excuse me. I don't quite know what to equate it to. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think of something, some sort of kind of like cultural myth that everyone is so certain about. Oh boy. I can't really think of it, but it's sort of a stereotype. It's kind of a false thing. I would say that what it actually is that I can't remember what Russian thinker said this, but one of these guys who's on TV a lot, said that the most important question in Russian history at any given point in time is, what is Russia? There is this sort of eternal, like, self-reflection of Russians about what Russia is, which might make you kind of conflate with this whole Russian soul thing, but you'll never hear that expression used between Russians themselves, only to foreign people. So, important nuance. Anyways, we have either, I don't know how to pronounce this, Aether, or more logically, Ether Pills. Hello, I do appreciate that you have a Pepe-related, what's it's called, icon. Ether, Aether, Other, Arthur. Hello.
Tim.
Hello.
Tim, what's going on, buddy?
Not much.
It's Afanasi here, man.
Oh, Afanasi, that's your code name now. I kind of recognize the voice. I was like, is it you? But if you guess wrong, then you look like an idiot. If you sit there
true.
nodding, you look smart. So, anyways, what's up, man?
Oh, just wanted to throw out a little something for the last speaker, Miss Kirkpatrick.
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to tell you that, like, if anyone should talk about the history of Christianity, it's you. Maybe we can have another, like, a live discussion about that one day. Because, Anne, if you want to talk to someone about the history of Christianity, especially Orthodoxy in Russia, this man knows it. So
yeah.
But anyways,
I'd love to come on sometime. We could definitely do something about that.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I just wanted to recommend a book for her and for the other listeners right now. The book is called The Foundations of Christian Culture by one of the great Slavophiles, Ivan Ilyin, one of my favorite authors.
One of Putin's favorite authors, right?
Yeah, one of Putin's favorite authors. He quotes him many times. So I highly recommend checking that out if you want to understand prior to the revolution where the Slavic thought, the Christian thought, really, because when we say Slavic, what are we talking about? We're talking about Orthodox Christian thought. This isn't a mystery, right? So in that sense, I think that Miss Kirkpatrick was onto something there, that there was a shared soul that existed, a zeitgeist, one could say, right? That exists across the board in the consciousness, maybe almost on a subconscious level, though. So I think there's some reality to what she's talking about, and I think it's something that communism couldn't kill, as she sort of rightly noted. The Christian Orthodoxy here survived with the babushkas, right? Like they're the ones who are in church. They're even now. You walk into any average Orthodox liturgy on a weekday, and you're going to see a good handful of babushkas in there, and that's beautiful, and that's a great thing. So I think she's spot on there. But I have to recommend that book. I can't recommend it enough because he really outlines what the Russian idea of the culture being specifically Christian and uniquely Russian is. So that's your book, okay? It's one of the very few that's translated into English. This is a dream I have, is that, you'll get enough people who are actually interested in the culture of Russia, and they'll learn Russian and start translating these beautiful words.
Afanasi, I'll tell you one thing, is if this village thing, the village, because the village thing, it's this nuance of, it technically has started up north, but it's more of a trickle, and it's more of a homesteading thing, and not everyone's ready to homestead. Right. But if I can ever get this actual village thing where we have like hundreds plots of land, people can live there. They have a place in the stupid immigration quota. I think that's going to really explode the interest, because Russia is very aloof and far away. I mean, people are kind of interested. But you know what would help a lot? Going back to our topic, if Russia could make a really hyper-successful movie, if Russia could make a Dragon Ball Z even, it would be amazing. I mentioned that because this is really sort of you don't quite know what to think about it, but you've probably seen it. Have you ever seen it? There's this some person somewhere in like the Middle East started to do the Dragon Ball Z characters, but for like interpreted by each Islamic country. So there's like this like comic book where it's the same characters, but they're in Chechnya. And that may sound insane to you, but you can see how something about that universal tale of a man getting up again, trying to gain the power to overcome his odds in this really cool way with a lot of explosions, somehow touches this Muslim kid who's then is like, but I'm going to mix like Ramzan Kadyrov, but I'm going to mix him with Vegeta, and it's going to be sweet. And you could sort of see this like weird like cultural influence thing, right? And I just think that's something that we really, need to accomplish what you just said. So I don't know. But thank you very much for calling in, man. And how about this? And if you're still listening, if you haven't given up on us, I think that Afanasi and I, we're going to do a live stream and we're going to talk about that very topic together when he's ready, because he has a life too. Great. And so break out your notebook, buddy. All right,
Tim.
See you later, man.
Good chatting, buddy.
Right.
Take it easy.
Later on. So anyways, I don't know who came next. I guess we're going to go to Hazel because the computer put her on top. So hi, Hazel. The computer thinks you're number one. So hello? Hello? Hazel?
Hello, can you hear me? Sorry.
Oh, yes.
I forgot I had to unmute. I apologize.
It's okay.
I just wanted to ask if Aether is happy to share a link to that book, because I forgot to write it down.
Okay, so that means that Afanasi, share a link to that book somewhere in like the chat, and I can, I guess, maybe then later forward it to the actual like main group thing. But that's kind of hard to do when I'm already sitting over here. So if that was it,
okay.
Hazel, you should do
no,
that.
Just wanted to say a couple of other things as well. I just wanted to say, I love your channel very much, Tim. Thank you.
Oh, and thank you.
I'm a newish listener as well, from the UK, and God damn, I'd love to be able to claim asylum in Russia right now, because I don't want to be here in the UK, because I hate my government so bad. But yeah, it's really, really embarrassing to be here. So as long as I hope that people in Russia understand that, that we're not all. We are definitely not all anti-Russia.
Well, Hazel, let me then explain one thing that might be important here. Hold on, we're just going to mute you, not out of spite, but so that way the audio is clear. That's one thing that I think has been very really revealed by this war. One part of Russian culture is that despite the fact that if you ask the Russians, do they like or hate their government, they're going to have a very negative view of their government overall. But they understand that in a lot of ways, they don't have a lot of control over it. I think maybe during all those years of, boy, I'm going to sound like a Russian liberal. I'm going to blame serfdom for it. But, there are a lot of centuries of kind of with a lot of serfdom, a lot of, this imperial rule, and then communism. And remember, in communism, the Communist Party didn't want a lot of suggestions. They wanted you to do what they told you to do, okay? And so I think in a lot of ways, Russian people are a lot more aware that very often populations can sort of have to go where the powers that be are forcing them to. They have to be a little bit flexible and bend in the wind. Not to say there haven't been uprisings and revolutions in Russia, but I think Russian people are a lot more understanding as opposed to some naive twit who's in, I don't know, Berkeley, California, who's like, the Russians haven't risen up against Putin. They should all die because I don't like Putin, so they should have risen up against him and fought to the death because I don't like him. He says not nice things. You see what I mean? So, yeah, anyways, I asked you a question. I didn't allow you to speak. So anyways, Hazel, what you're saying is is actually not, Russians definitely, that's one positive side of Russian culture. They understand when the government does things they don't want, and they're going to do that. And democracy is a little bit of a sham. But
fair point. Anyways. Fair point. I did a little bit of I did study Russian history only from about 1890s to probably the Second World War. This is back in the early 90s, and I've just started doing an open university course based on revolutions. So I'm going to revisit the whole thing again. So it should be quite interesting to be interesting to.
Well,
this is one of the reasons why I'm interested in that book, because part of what we're studying as well is philosophy, history, and religion. So religious studies is part of it. So yes, that book I'm interested to read. Thank you. I will.
Fantastic. I would also then recommend. Sorry, cut you off. I'm sorry, but anyways, I'd also really recommend to you two authors. One extremely more sort of secular, factual-based author, although some people debate. Well, I'll put it this way. If you like his facts, you agree with him. His name is Nikolai Starikov. He has written a lot of sort of more, I would say, a little bit more of a statistical view of Russian history that's very positive and will definitely be different than what you're going to get from an English bookstore. I guarantee you. And for the famous philosopher, Russian philosopher Alexander Dugin, his books are pretty much available online everywhere, and they also are going to be really different from anything you read, because you have to remember that when you talk about Russia from the outside, we have basically this overall view that everyone in Russia who is pro-Western is awesome. So we have Peter I, to an extent Khrushchev, Solzhenitsyn, and so on and so forth. And to be honest, like people like Solzhenitsyn are so discredited within Russia. So you might want to, expand your Russian sources of who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. Anyways, I can't see, it's white on white. I'm allowing you to speak. CDR Station Hypo. You are on the program. I'm going to maximize that volume. Hello, CDR. CDR. Okay, going once. CDR, going twice.
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Oh, here you are. Okay, well, all right.
Hey, sorry about that.
It's okay. It's fine, dude. It's
fine.
Of
how the technical buttons work here.
Dude, as you can see, like, look, you're talking to a guy who's in front of a green screen backdrop, like in the woods. Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
All right, that's great. Thanks. Hey, Tim, I a couple things. One, first of all, CDR just means commander. That's a Navy abbreviation for commander.
It means what?
Commander, a naval.
Oh, commander. Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's just what that's up there for, because I'm a retired Navy guy. And Station Hypo is the was the cryptological base at which they broke the Japanese code in Hawaii before the Battle of Midway. So that's what Station Hypo is. Anyway, so one of the things I wanted to ask you about, I've noticed that many of the American and British commentators who are out there gathering the news in Donbass or in Russia, when they come on, when I listen to them speak Russian, the Russian is fairly bad, and and I find that a little bit strange, because a lot of these guys seem to have lived there for a while, right? But they still are struggling. I take it, though, from having listened on the Duran to a little bit of your bio, that you probably speak quite good Russian, since you are a TV personality of sorts, correct? Or a media personality?
Correct. Well, especially when I'm sort of having a good day, I speak it pretty well. But I definitely have a very strong accent. Unfortunately, that's something I'm not particularly great at. Maybe doing like some, funny accents, like person from India or something like that. A little bit of that I can do, but I can't keep that up every day of my life to do like a Russian accent in Russian. It becomes very tiring, because the mouth positions to do it are very unnatural for someone who's... It's вы говорите по-русски, and everything is very ooh, ee, ah, ooh, ah. And in English, we don't do that. And so I guess I could do it, but it just becomes fatiguing and annoying. So my accent is far from what it could be. But yeah, I speak Russian at a very high level. My vocabulary is very large. Now, let me pause things here, and I'll answer what your respond here. Okay, mute. See, look, it takes me forever to hit the mute button, so you don't feel bad if you weren't able to unmute yourself. So the thing is that generally, very few of these Western journalists, first off, most people who actually write about Russia, if you want to take like a big pie chart, we sort of divide them into people who sort of live the pro-Russian and anti-Russian sides. It's kind of hard to be neutral about Russia, unfortunately. I would say probably journalists and stuff who write about Russia is probably more anti-Russian, but that could just be my own assimilated Russian pessimism. But anyways, so get rid of half the pie chart at least, maybe less. For the pro-Russian, you look at the anti-Russian journalists, and to be honest, a lot of them don't speak Russian really at all, or on a very basic level, like a sort of, like person comes to visit England and they're just, like, hi, my name is, my name is Ivan, capital of England is London, something like that, that sort of level. So very, very basic level. So one thing that for me personally is it's extremely cringe. Like if you want to know the definition of cringe, it is listening to these reporters speak Russian, because, you know, it's kind of looking like me looking into an ugly mirror of myself. And I was just like, oh my God. One of the worst, and not to diss him because he's very Russophobic. This isn't like, I'm not trying to be against this guy because his Russian level is bad, but the former American ambassador McFaul, his Russian is like, it's interesting because he's spent enough time on it that he can really communicate in it, especially in written form, but he will not take the Englishness out of it. Like it is like the Russian language, but with the most hardcore American English filter over everything. The grammar, the word selection, the pronunciation. I sometimes see this with Russians too. It's like they kind of want to learn English, but they don't want to accept the fact that in English you have to have a verb in every sentence. And no matter how many times you tell them, they don't care. They're going to whip out those sentences with no verbs in them, not giving an F. You know, it's kind of maybe a little bit of cultural arrogance that comes from Russians too. But I think that, anyways, but that McFaul guy and a lot of these journalists, yeah, their level is very bad. It's very, very cringy. And a lot of it also has to do with the fact that they absolutely refuse to accept that Russian isn't just this like English, but with a different set of words, kind of, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm trying to think if I ever met anyone who speaks. One guy who wrote a hit piece on me from the Wall Street Journal. I'm not going to mention his name. You know, that guy's Russian was pretty good. I mean, not great, but it was pretty decent. But yeah, it's kind of hard to also, it's kind of hard to learn the language of someone you hate. You know what I mean? Like, let's just say hypothetically you wake up tomorrow and you have some sort of gripe against Latinos. Like, how good could you learn, or how well could you learn Spanish or Portuguese if you have some sort of gripe against Latinos? You know, it's not going to go well. You just don't have the passion. So that could also be kind of part of it, you know. Anyways, let's get to JMK. And, guys, if you have any more questions, this is quite the live stream. I want to thank you all for picking up my mood. Like I said, what a crappy day I had today, crappy week, and everything's kind of going better. All right, so JMK, hello.
Hey, Tim. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity. I don't really have much to say. I'm just sure listening. So,
thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a show filled with calls. Thank you.
Yes. No. I was just listening around and just hearing kind of just the different point of views. I've been following you for, let's see here, as long as I can remember. So probably like a year or two. I'm fairly young. I'm 19, so still have a lot of experience. Still in university, so just kind of listening in and.
Dude, are you building up that college debt, my friend? Building up college debt?
Oh yes, most definitely. But no, I'm going to study engineering, so I think that'll
cover it. Okay.
But no.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just listening in, and I find it interesting. I think hopefully in the future, you know, when things get bad, I was thinking, you know, maybe I could relocate to Russia, but so don't really have much to say. Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay, dude. It's fine, man. Thank you. So yeah, but one thing though is, for any of you watching, remember, if you have student loans to pay in America and you come to Russia, and it's impossible to transfer money here to there. But if you're getting an engineering degree, you'll probably be able to pay that off much faster than someone with a design degree could, who chose to live in a country that's considered poor. So you might be ahead of the curve compared to me, my friend. But one thing I definitely say, as a young man, is focus while you're young. Focus on money. Not time to get married. Wait till you're 30. Wait till you're 30. Focus on money. Get yourself in order. Get your life in order. Or if you're going to move to Russia, you're going to have to marry someone here. So hold off on the ladies. Focus on yourself. Focus on this education, your career. Get that going. That's the best thing. Don't put the cart before the horse. Chris should be on. Chris. One of my favorite names, Chris. I should have a son named Chris. Hello, Chris.
Oh, there we go. I think you hear me now, I hope.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Tim. And I'm like everyone else. I am grateful excuse me, that you're doing what you do, and we've been following you probably for several months, and I just can't say thank you enough. So keep it up, please.
Well, much appreciated. All right, thank you. Let me mute you there again, guys. I don't know. This is sort of like there's two sort of schools of thought about prayer, and I bring up my one grandmother because she would always pray to God to help her for things that I always felt she kind of needed to do herself. This isn't a diss on grandma; it's just the way she was. She'd be like, she always lost her car keys, and she'd be like, "I'm going to pray to this particular saint or to God." It's like, Grandma, let's not waste the Almighty's time. But I've been told by some people that God has infinite energy, so you can't waste His time. That prayer is always good, even if it's stuff you should kind of maybe do yourself. I don't know. But so I didn't really pray to have a day that, or this live stream that would pick me up like this, because I worry about that Boeing jet falling down. I pray to God before I fly, because sometimes when you think about all the stuff that's happening to an airplane as it's going through the sky, you just you just want a little extra help. But today I almost feel like my prayer that I never asked for or never sent has been answered, because it's a really good time for you guys to be here with me. Chris wanted to continue. Anyways, Chris, what's up? You want to continue? Say something else? I guess not. Okay. Anyways, if you do want to say something, raise your hand again, and I'll get you back on. Anyways, let's see. We have some comments from the chat. We have, the fact that I don't know about this. Got it. We have Veronica. I'm afraid your explanation is a bit misleading. In fact, the documents give advice to normal AFU soldiers. I see. Interesting. Oh, I made a mistake in something. So apparently this thing that I was. Well, guess what, guys? We're getting rid of this because this person. Well, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to further analyze this. Things that are bad information, I always get rid of. Let's see. What else? Who else is saying something? Joe, Tim, there are any external links regarding signing up for a service of foreign citizenship offer? Joe wrote that. Sorry, Joe, you're going to have to look on your own about that. The problem is I don't really know. They say that in theory they want to do this, but in reality, I don't even know if they really want to. Chris, you had a question, or wanted to continue?
Yes. Can you hear me now? I'm obviously having some technical difficulties. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Now I can.
Okay. Look, what I was just thanking you for doing what you do, but I wanted to ask a simple question about the Russian oligarchs that you may not know the answer to. And my interest in this question is simple. In my opinion, most of your societies and nations, the major influences do come through the moneyed interests, okay?
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm particularly interested in understanding what the state of Russian oligarchy, or the oligarchy in Russia, is, such as concerning whether or not they're of a particular tribe or not, or if there's been changes in that regard. And I really think that is an important aspect of forces within a society.
Okay. Well, there's actually, where did this, where would that come from? But there was an article written a while ago that showed that really the oligarchy of the 90s was much more filled with members of those 12 tribes, 10 tribes, however many there were in the Bible. And that by the time of sort of Putin, sort of the late, 2010 or whatever, that number radically decreased. One thing, guys, I want to say is let's not be so obsessed with this particular group of people. I've noticed that sometimes in the chat, people are a little bit overzealous about this particular religious ethnic group, and let's keep it calm, okay? But in general, yes, their number in what would be considered the oligarchy has gone down. Some would also say that maybe the real oligarchy is kind of over with, because the state now has so much power that it's not really that way. But the really, really super ultra rich people, the ones that are still around, their character, I would say, is a bit different. in the fact that maybe for the first time in a lot of Russian history, the oligarchy kind of comes from, if we're going to have one, they're Soviet-made people. They're people who really came from the Soviet system, and they came from here. So it's not like what Anne mentioned earlier about how, like, Yekaterina the Great was from what would become Germany, I believe Prussia specifically. And, you know, and also, you know, a lot of the early communists, who the hell knows where they were from? That's also up for debate or whatnot. But in a lot of ways, you can see that they're sort of more homemade people. And so you have a lot more, for those of you who remember the TV show, the Beverly Hillbillies, about what would happen if a family of hillbillies got a lot of money. There's definitely a lot of that. And I think over time, the ones that have sort of stayed in power are more this sort of loyal enough, kind of more hillbilly-ish type. But you have to remember that they all got that stuff by being quite brutal in the 90s. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But, again, we can't really say because it's kind of hard to tell who's an oligarch or who's not. But one thing you could say is that I think the Western powers really thought that, you know, now that there's going to be total sanctions, basically everyone in Russia who's like a billionaire, they're all on sanctions. I mean, pretty much everyone except for maybe Tinkov. But he hasn't left. So besides Tinkov and maybe the guy who owns VK, I don't think is yet, Durov, and Telegram. I don't think he is either, but he also isn't going anywhere yet. He knows better. You know, besides like those two, overall, every ultra rich person in Russia is on sanctions, and yet they haven't gotten rid of the Tsar. They haven't disposed. Is that the word, disposed? Deposed. I think it's deposed. Oh my God, brain's not working. They haven't deposed the Tsar. So apparently the oligarchy is not quite the same as it used to be. Let's see. Daniel, Tim, I'm thinking of starting my own channel. I'd like to interview you. Bad Wolf has a new studio I can use. Oh, you want to interview me in personal at Bad Wolf Studios? I will say yes. Just give me time. Give me time. Yes, that I'll do it. The big question is when. Veronica, P.S. I have just read the original text from Sharansky. Oh, about that. Tim translated the Ukrainian document and a Russian comment beneath it incorrectly. Oh, I'm sorry that I'm old and I can't read as well as you could. Get some rest, Tim. Well, we have two people saying I got it wrong. So that means, guess what, guys? I apparently got this wrong because I can't see it. We're going to get rid of that. Goodbye. No, not that. Gotta get rid of that. All right. So now accuracy increased. Anyways, Foundations of Christian Culture. Oh, here it is. The Foundations of Christian Culture by Ivan Ilyin. So we're going to forward that to the main group. Okay, that's awesome. Let's see. Any other questions? I see your hands raised again, JMK. Let's get back to you. Hello. Anyways, guys, I'm going to bail soon. So JMK, you're the last caller. Although we've already talked, but you're the last now. So. Hello? It's nice to hear guys of their age. Being the popular Russian YouTube in the country. Okay, I think JMK had some problems over there. Anyways, we have a question, some comments from Ileana. Thank you, Tim, for your work and keeping the community together. My pleasure and my duty. It's nice to see everyone's aspirations regardless of their age. I totally agree. Karen or Karine? It's spelled Karin. I'm not quite sure. What is your opinion? Let's just say Karen, because that is a popular woman's name. What is your opinion of the popular Russian YouTube vloggers who fled the country as to what the future may hold for them upon returning to Russia? Well, I mean, a lot of people who fled, there's a lot of ways to look at this because you're talking about a broad group of people. And I don't want to make a blanket statement as if they're all this one type of person. But there are some people who fled the country because they're terrified of getting drafted. they're just terrified of getting drafted. Okay, so they fled the country for that's their primary reason. Okay, some people fled at the beginning of the war because they thought the society collapsed and that they were going to die and that they just sort of left and they're going to stay there. But also some people are foreign agents. The rats had to get off a sinking ship that didn't sink. You know what I mean? So a lot of these people are just trying to carry on their activities from other countries and keep getting financed, but they don't realize that no one there wants them. Like the music group, sort of comedy music group, Little Big. They fled Russia, they denounced the war, and now they're like destroyed. They have nothing. They can't even get a concert going. So, what is my opinion? I guess my opinion doesn't matter. I mean, it's an interesting social factor that this war is really divided. Divided. The dividing sounds like breaking in two. It's done a good job of reshaking the Russian social structure cocktail. And I approve that because I want to be as high up in society as I can. So let's keep shaking that cocktail, baby. Let's keep these people the hell out of here because they're not really contributing much to society. So, great question. What is the income like over there? Interested in IT jobs, especially from Jade Karoshia, maybe Harosha, from Texas. Anyways, that's something you're going to have to kind of look to on your own. I mean, really high-paid IT guys, when I worked in the tech industry, they made what would be considered very good salaries for Russia. I'm thinking, I don't know, what would be in today, like a middle-of-the-road IT specialist. I don't know, 150,000 rubles, 200,000 rubles. Definitely enough to live on. So, depends. But the thing is you don't really want to come to Russia. Like, I'll put it this way. No matter how you kind of add it up, if in America, well, again, Americans, I think of things in America. If America didn't have, like, the ridiculous healthcare bills and the factor where you have to drive no matter what. So there's a lot of things that really drive up, like, how much the cost of living in America. But if you sort of got rid of those, American salaries look rockin' huge and awesome compared to Russian salaries. But then you kind of have to factor in that in Russia, all those giant, or the American giant cost of living expenses, except for food, are way lower here. So it's really hard to say. So any salaries I read off to you would sound bad. Let's kind of have to think of it in context of that things are a bit different here. So Russian citizenship by blood or birth? Who are you asking me? Through the pen stroke of President Putin. Hazel, thank you, Hazel. Nice to hear from you. Robespierre, something about American degeneration. I don't know. I guess that's a comment, so I guess I'll try to read it. No. Oh my god! I think the live stream died. That was terrible. When I clicked on this image, the computer just farted. Wait, so let's see. Do we really want here in our country, in Russia, instead of mom and dad, to have parents? Oh, that's from Putin's speech. Well, you've all heard that. Hazel, me meant to tag this. Go ahead, no problem. Regarding the Reformation at the moment. Okay, thanks, bro. Okay, that's everyone. JFK, you were the last caller. You wanted to talk, so here you are. Unmute yourself and rock on.
Oh, hey, sorry. I don't
yeah,
know
it's
if
fine.
I rose my hand up by accident, but no, I still don't have much to say other than just listening.
All right. Anyways, then I'm gonna. Okay, Okay, we're gonna get. I'm gonna end the program here because I'm starting to get a little tired. I have a buddy who's like a really successful like a video game live streamer, and he does 3-hour sessions. I'm done after an hour. So, anyways, guys. So again, why did I do this live stream? It is because I wanted to more elaborate on what I said about Russia needing a movie, and because I got a lot of feedback from that. And again, it's like Russia was able to do the space race. They were able to do the arms race. They spent too much money doing it. But there's sort of an entertainment narrative, ideological race. And yes, this idea of the multipolar world is something that's amazing and is something that has really touched the hearts and minds of the entire global East, South, and not the West. the leadership of it, the intellectuals of it. It's a good example of something great, elevator pitch for the future of the world, but it's not exactly the thing that's going to convince all the 18-year-olds. It's not exactly the thing that's going to win hearts and minds in that sense. And so I just kind of wanted to explain myself in the fact that, guys, the inability for Russia to make a movie is almost like on the same level of being in a nation that's unable to make a car, or that's unable to make a nuclear weapon, or that's unable to provide, efficient like internet and electricity or utilities. I mean, it's just something that if Russia wants to be in a multipolar world, it's going to be one of those poles. The pillars that it's going to stand on, this big fat pole, or its foundation of concrete. Well, a few kilograms of concrete, it's got to be the entertainment industry. It's got to be these big narratives. Because so far, not so good. Because again, as I remind you, something was able to change people in Ukraine from 1991 to what's happening now and convince them that they're not Russians. And not only that they're not Russians, but that Russians are subhuman and need to die. Something did it. I think it's a form of propaganda. You're free to disagree with me. That's my opinion. We can also say that as Americans, looking back to what our grandparents believed, and yeah, one of the problems with America is, maybe not so much my grandparents, but my great-grandparents on my mom's side were apparently quite the racists. They had some very, very impassioned things to say about a certain group that has 12 tribes according to the Bible. But that was then. So there definitely were some things maybe about our ancestors and their mentality that was needed to be smoothed out a little bit. But overall, American society, and not just because there have been technological changes, but people today are just completely different from their grandparents, especially their great-grandparents. And why? I would say the media. I would really say the rise of the media. And we can sit here and finger wag all day long, but until we create something that's able to counter that narrative, it's not going to matter. You can do, Putin can give all the amount of intellectual speeches he wants. We can have all the, political forums where we invite foreign VIPs to Moscow to have shrimp or whatever and caviar and talk about, the nature of what 21st century economics are going to look like. I mean, that's all important, but everyone on earth consumes entertainment media. I don't know anyone who doesn't, because you can even consider books to be entertainment media. Even the most super mega intellectual people I've ever met still listen to music, sometimes even pop music, and they've read a couple books that are just kind of dopey and crappy, like Stephen King and J.K. Rowling and J.R. Martin and all those kinds. So none of us, not one human being exists without some form of contact with entertainment media. And yet everyone in Russia, over the 10-plus year career I've had in the media, every time I give a speech about the necessity that we need to try to tickle the subconscious mind and create more entertainment media that projects more positive, it basically projects these great conservative Christian values that we have and actually sort of packages them and shows them as a model of behavior, I've been laughed off the stage a bunch of times. Nearly spit on. Maybe not spit on. Laughed off the stage for sure. But it's true. And we got to face the facts. And I don't care how expensive it is. I don't care how hard it is. I don't care how deplatformed we are. There's a whole world out there that needs to hear different, better, more positive messages. And that's all I got for tonight, guys.